Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Thanks for tuning in. Before we get started, I want to remind you we're looking for quality people to add to our stable of franchisees. This is a unique franchise opportunity in that it's geared for aspiring entrepreneurs or professionals to add on to what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few days a week, our franchisees operate the AmSpirit Business Connections program. The rest of the week, they're accountants, attorneys, financial advisors, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. If you're interested, contact me. There's an email in the show notes, or use the one provided at the end of the program. If you've been a consistent listener, a reasonably consistent listener of this podcast in its relatively young existence, we've covered the topic of small talk in a number of episodes. Starting back at episode 11, we had networking small talk. And then a few weeks later, we did a program, episode 17, we did a program called Networking Conversation Carriers. In episode 19, we did a program on creating recall, which was all about helping people remember the things that you've said, tactics for remembering things that you've said within a small talk environment. Episode 33, we talked about networking and nonverbal communication. In episode 39, we did a program called Box the Conversation, which was about getting small talk started. In episode 45, we did a program called Elevator Pitches, as easy as 313. You have to listen to that. Go back and listen to it. But it was a program with information from Ryan Folens. He has a method for communicating and making our elevator pitches more succinct. In episode 50, we did a program called Communicate Active Listening, which is a big part of small talk, is getting people listening to us. At any rate, obviously, I believe in the power of small talk. Why? Simple. Small talk is the driver of know, like, and trust. Small talk is the driver of relationships. Small talk is the driver of great networking. This isn't just my opinion. If you had the opportunity to listen to episode 56, on episode 56, I interviewed a gentleman by the name of Brian Ahern. Brian Ahern is one of only 20 people worldwide who have been trained and certified by Dr. Robert Cialdini. If you want to look up the name Robert Cialdini, Dr. Robert Cialdini, Professor Emeritus at Arizona State University, Dr. Cialdini is a foremost authority on persuasion and influence, the psychology of persuasion and influence. And one of the things that Brian talked about in our interview, in talking about his training with Dr. Cialdini, and again, this is science. These are things that have been studied. What Brian shared with us is having these small talk conversations, creating these little tiny relationships really go a long way towards getting people to like us. Again, know, like, and trust, getting people to like us. And once people like us, we're in a better position to persuade them or influence them. So small talk is immensely powerful in the networking world. I did have a question, however, that came to me, and I get questions from a variety of sources. I get questions emailed to me from time to time. I get questions, just people talking to me out there in general. But question came up. I was talking with somebody, and they're a believer in small talk. They try and small talk. They try and work on their small talk. They're continually getting better with their small talk. I'd like to think that they've listened to the various episodes on this podcast about small talk, but they're a believer in it and committed to it. But they had a question. They had a dilemma. Let's call it the brass tacks dilemma. They came across somebody, and they were trying to engage in small talk, and the person had no interest in small talk at all. And I wasn't there for the conversation, So I don't know exactly how it unfolded, but in my mind, I had this image of the old 1950 company president or manager sitting there with a cigar hanging out of his mouth saying, "Chop, chop, kid, tell me what you got. Quit wasting my time." Just wanting the person to get right down to business. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time asking me how I am or about me or anything. I don't care about you. You don't care about me. And so their question was, well, what do you do in those situations? Somebody doesn't want to have small talk. And my advice to this person and my advice to people listening is don't sweat it. You're going to run into people like that. You're going to run into people who don't engage in small talk for one reason or another. It might be cultural. There are certain parts of the United States that are a little more laid back, a little more open to that, and there are other parts of the United States where they just want to get right down to business. And so that could explain part of it. Of course, you don't know what goes into somebody's day. Somebody who's, that person who's hitting you with the chop chop kid, get right down to business, don't waste my time. You don't know what just preceded that. They may have had a bad call or a bad encounter that's kind of put them in a sour mood. So we don't know. Or they might be under the gun and have something coming up and are kind of stressed and need to get moving along. So we don't really know what it might be. They might not really understand what networking is all about. That's just maybe how they are. But my advice is don't sweat it. Just go with the flow. Talk about business. Politely talk about business. Let them ask their tough questions. They might try and make you feel small for wanting to get into small talk. I had somebody years ago who cut me off and basically they were chiding me, trying to share with me, listen, hey, this, business, nobody likes to do this small talk stuff in business. They like to get right down to business. And they were just trying to make me feel small. And what I have found is that the most successful people I run into out there are really into small talk. Not engaging hours in it, but all the conversations start with a little bit of small talk. Pretty much everybody I've interviewed, John Millen, Danny Creed, certainly Brian Ahern, the list goes on, Brandon Clifford, all these people, small talk is just a huge part of any conversation we have. And these people are immensely successful. Terry Bean, Chris Borja, very successful, very engaging if you ever have an opportunity to talk to them. So if somebody kind of cuts you off with respect to that, don't let it throw you off your game. Chances are something's going on. Maybe they're small-minded, small in achievement. Really, they're probably not a good prospect for you. Might not be a good sales prospect for whatever reason. Certainly not a good networking prospect. Just keep doing what you do the right way. You just keep focusing on small talk, and things will happen for you. You'll be able to fill your pipeline with enough people, enough great successful people who want to engage in small talk, who want to have a relationship be part of your networking with them, that in the end it really won't matter. And so you'll start to surround yourself with great people, and then they'll start to refer you to other great people, and they'll refer you to other great people, and pretty soon you won't have time in your life for the people who just want to get down to brass tacks and don't really care about engaging in any of this little polite chit-chat. They don't really care about developing a relationship. You won't have time for them. They really won't be part of your life. So don't sweat it. If somebody doesn't want to have small talk, just go with the flow. Move on to the next person. Politely finish up that conversation, and then move on to the next person.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.